Look, I'm just gonna come out and say it. The Matt Mercer effect doesn't exist, and if players are pointing to the acting skills of a D-list celebrity to demonstrate why they aren't having fun playing D&D, they just don't know how to tell you that they're bored. So the next time you hear some dungeon master complain that they've fallen victim to the Matt Mercer effect, you'll be able to explain to them otherwise. Firstly, the only people who complain about not having fun while playing D&D are the people who aren't having fun playing D&D. Newer basement-dwelling players who don't have constructive criticism skills and only have experienced D&D through Critical Role just simply don't have the needed vocabulary or understanding of the game to express why they are bored and disinterested. Well, most of the time it's because your players don't feel the pressure of a time limit. That's it. That's your silver bullet, or as the other Matt puts it,
Orcs attack!
Seriously, compared to all this advice, all the content I have on this channel is legit hot garbage from some goofy jackass in a blazer pontificating about how to have fun with your friends.
Hey, I heard that.
Yeah, whatever, Professor. Look, it doesn't matter what the MacGuffin is, or who has the MacGuffin, or where the MacGuffin is located. If your players have 24 hours to help some snot-nosed peasant girl grow a magic mushroom to save the world from a fungus-eating demon, they'll be far more engaged than if they had all the time in the universe. So, how do you add the time limit? Ask yourself, how many times do I want my players to rest? That's how many days you give them to complete the quest before something really bad happens. It's as simple as that. Okay, so what if that sensation of pressure is not the problem? Unlikely, but here's some alternative advice. Which one of these does your Mercer-afflicted player sound like?
But Matt Mercer uses lots of character voices.
This player is a thespian. They want social encounters. Make sure they have at least one social encounter each game session where they get to flex their blossoming acting skills. And if they fail the appropriate charisma checks while doing so, make sure something bad happens. Next one.
But Matt Mercer runs epic combats.
This means they want tactical fights. But you're no tactician. Here's how you cheat the system to make epic combats anyway. Change your combat encounters to have enough weak monsters so every encounter is deadly according to the XP budget. Split this large horde of monsters into two groups, one melee and one ranged. Finally, drop a spellcaster into one of those groups. Give that spellcaster just 3 battlefield control spells like Wall of Stone, Web, or Black Tentacles. Do not give them Fireball. It's outside of the scope of this video why, but trust me, it works. I'll talk about why in future videos. Regardless, organizing your combat encounters in this way will make your combats way more epic. Okay, last one.
But Matt Mercer has such a rich and colorful game world.
This one can actually be one of two things, but the solution is the same. Either they're a problem solver who likes trying to connect the dots, and they don't have enough dots, or you have created a world with terrible inconsistencies. Either way, the solution is the same. Find ways to reference other places in the region while your players are exploring. If the players are in the local tavern, have 2 NPCs in that tavern talk about the weapons dealer. If the players are visiting the weapons dealer, have them overhear someone talking about a nearby dungeon. If they're in that nearby dungeon, have the players bump into the tavern keep's nephew kidnapped by goblins. Even if that's not why they were sent to the dungeon to start with. Make cyclical references about the game world. You can practice those silly voices all you want, but seriously, they aren't what your players are hung up on. Lastly, you have to be honest with yourself. Are the people you're playing with telling the kind of story you're motivated to game master for? Because if you aren't engaged, your players can't be expected to engage either. If that's the case, discuss that with your players. You might need to kick some players out of your group and get new ones. It sucks, but you have to be willing to do this. It's for the sake of the game and everyone's sanity. Don't play D&D with people you can't break up with. You don't have to quit being their friend, but only toxic people don't leave a bad relationship, even if it's just for some roleplay. If you want a 17th century Italian intrigue game, you can't expect a bunch of murder hobos playing 5th edition to give that to you. Make clear the kind of story you want to tell and what rule set you will use to help support that story. And if you aren't feeling the vibe a player brings to the table, you might have to ask them to leave. No game is supposed to be miserable, and when you, the DM, are clearly putting in the most work, you should be the one who's rewarded with the kind of game you want to play. Don't kowtow to players who want to murder hobo a bunch of orcs and hold you accountable for being bored when you pivot the game toward cloak and daggers. So keep the pressure on, have tight and consistent game settings, provide social encounters with risks. Trust me, the silly voices can come later. Thanks for watching, Dungeon Masters, and good night.